Now that we're on the book page for Voice of War, let's make sure that we can add some cool notes here, and that loading spinner should show up and disappear. And we should also be able to check it as read and check the star rating as well. But of course, this is a 5-star book, so I'm going to give that a 5-star rating in my test. So let's start out by saying sci find by role main, and then within main, we're going to say sci find by role text box with the name of notes, and we'll type in "This is an awesome book." And then we'll say sci find by label text loading should exist, and then it also should not exist. So we'll wait for it to show up, and then we'll wait for it to disappear. And then we can say sci find by role button with the name mark as read, and we'll click on it. And then once we've marked it as read, we should be able to say sci find by role radio with the name 5 stars. And this is the one that we want to click on. So let's save that, come over here, and so far so good. Everything's going. We're getting to the Voice of War. We're typing it in. That shows up, it disappears, and we checked it as read, but it looks like something is wrong. So we did click on this and mark it as read, but the radio buttons are not showing up quite right, or something's going wrong. So actually what's happening here is because our radio buttons are designed in the way that they are, the actual radio button itself is hidden so that we can have those cool stars. And this isn't something that you should be doing a lot, but sometimes you have to add force true so that Cypress will click on it even if the thing that you're trying to click on is not visible. So now if we save this, let's go ahead and see if this will work this time. Now that we're forcing clicking on this button that's not visible. Great, so our test is passing, we're in a good spot. We've given this the rating that it deserves. Now let's move on and go to the finished books, now that we've marked this as read, and verify that everything is showing up as it should. So we're going to do this navigation right here, we'll grab that, and for this it's going to be finished books, and then within our main again, we're going to make a couple of assertions that are actually kind of familiar to this one. So we'll grab that, paste that right here, and it should have length of 1. We only have 1 finished book. And before we click it, let's verify that the star ratings show up properly. So we'll say sci find by role radio with the name 5 stars, and that should be checked. And you do need to spell sci correctly, otherwise it won't work, I promise. So let's fix that typo, save it, and come back over here and make sure that everything we've got so far is working. So yep, everything's looking awesome. So let's review what we've got here so far. What we did here is once we got on to the Voice of War book page, we found the text box for our notes and we filled in "This is an awesome book." We waited for the loading to show up and then waited for it to go away. We marked it as read and gave it a 5-star rating. And in this case, we had to say force is true because of the way that we've set up our radio buttons to actually hide the inputs in favor of some nice looking stars. And then we navigated to the finished book page and made sure that this book now shows up on the finished book page and that the 5-star rating shows up properly, and then we navigated back to the book page.